Well, good afternoon and good morning to some, especially those on the West Coast and further west. We thank you for attending today. We have a lot of participants, good event. And to kick things off today, we've had the honor of having Secretary Perdue on this week. We've also had Commissioner Hahn from FDA. We're also graced with the Administrator Wheeler's presence, so to speak. He has provided a video, and we'd like to show that to you before we get on to the business meeting. So with that, I am going to hand it off to Amanda to get the video started.
Hello, I'm EPA Administrator Andrew Wheeler. I want to welcome each of you to the National Association of State Departments of Agriculture 2020 annual meeting. I really wish that I could be there with you in person. President Trump has been clear about the administration's commitment to agriculture and rural America. At EPA, our core mission is pretty simple: protect human health and the environment. And we believe that farmers and ranchers can be some of our strongest allies addressing that mission. In the past 3+ years of this administration, air pollution has fallen 7%. And the EPA has funded over $38 billion on new water infrastructure across the country. And last year, EPA delisted 27 Superfund sites, the most in a single year since 2001. And under the Trump administration, the agriculture community has been a big part of this success, and its voice has been heard at EPA. We have done this through reinstating our Farm, Ranch, and Rural Communities Advisory Committee, welcoming farmers through our doors, and connecting with them on key issues. We are listening to our farmers and ranchers. I think our actions in the past 3.5 years shows this to be true. From replacing the severely flawed Waters of the U.S. rule with the Navigable Waters Protection Rule to ensuring the availability of crop protection rules, we have worked with the ag community to achieve better environmental outcomes. We are giving them the necessary tools to succeed in providing the world with agriculture goods. Over the last few years, EPA has successfully launched our popular water infrastructure funding vehicle, WIFIA, and our water reuse action plan. We are prioritizing market-based solutions to improve water quality, including nutrient trading and modernizing the legal frameworks in which the regulated community interacts with federal and state regulators. I mentioned earlier our work to ensure the availability of crop protection tools. While the pesticide program has done a good job in approving pesticides on an individual basis, we've not always done a good job explaining our holistic approach to pesticide management to the public. This is going to be one of our 5 priorities for the second term. The media and the courts tend to view our individual pesticide decisions in a one-off fashion, which has left the American public uninformed on our science-based process. EPA's pesticides program of the future will incorporate integrated pest management examination of new active ingredients and plant-incorporated protectants and biotechnology. There will be less reliance on animal testing and more efforts to safeguard pollinators and improve Endangered Species Act consultations. I want to invite all of you to continue providing EPA with your comments on our rulemakings and EPA issues moving forward. It's important for us to listen to you because you listen to the farmers and ranchers in your own states. Only through collaboration can we achieve EPA's core mission of protecting human health and the environment. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to address you today. Have a great meeting, and I look forward to talking with you all in person soon. Thank you.
A great message from Administrator
Hello.
Wheeler. few technical difficulties along the way. If for some reason that came off a bit clunky, herky-jerky, had some interruptions to it, didn't flow right, we do encourage you to go to the homepage, to the website. All of these videos and information and the recordings will be uploaded, so you have an opportunity to actually see it without some of the interruptions and some of the technical challenges we've had at times. But I got to tell you, for the most part, it's one off without a hitch. As you may notice, most of you may notice, today during our business meeting, we're going to a different platform. So we're going to start populating the entire event for the members or their proxies, so that they will have the ability to actually click on, be seen, and unmute. For our spectators, they will have the ability to be off-site a bit and be able to watch the proceedings. So with that, I am going to call the meeting to order. And first item of business is roll call, and I'll call upon Director Miyamoto from Wyoming to please do roll.
Thank you, President Goring. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Okay. Thank you. I'll start with Alabama,
Present.
Alaska,
Here.
Arizona, Arkansas,
Here.
California, Colorado,
Here.
Connecticut,
Present.
Delaware, Florida,
Present.
Georgia,
Here.
Hawaii.
Present with aloha.
Hi, Phyllis.
Hi.
Idaho,
Here.
Illinois, Indiana, Iowa,
Present.
Kansas.
Sorry, Gary. Doug, Bruce Kettler.
Hi,
Yep.
Bruce. Gotcha.
Kansas present.
I have Kansas. I saw Kentucky.
Present.
Louisiana,
Here.
Maine,
Here.
Maryland, Massachusetts,
Present.
Michigan, Minnesota, Mississippi, Missouri,
Present.
Montana,
Here.
Nebraska, Nevada,
Here.
New Hampshire,
Here.
New Jersey,
Here.
New Mexico,
Here.
New York,
Present.
North Carolina,
Here.
North Dakota,
Here.
Ohio, Oklahoma, Oregon,
Present.
Pennsylvania,
Here.
Cheryl Cook for Russell Redding.
Rhode Island,
Here.
South Carolina,
Here.
South Dakota, Tennessee,
Here.
Texas,
I'm here, but not there.
Utah, Vermont,
Here.
Virginia,
Here.
Washington,
Here.
West Virginia,
Here.
Wisconsin,
Here.
Wyoming is here, American Samoa, Puerto Rico, Guam, U.S. Virgin Islands. And that's your roll call, President Goring. You have a quorum.
Thank you. I need a ruling from Charlie as to whether we have 2/3 to pass the business that's coming before us today in the form of policy amendments and resolutions.
Mr. President, there is a quorum and there is a 2/3 majority present.
All right, thank you. With that, we'll move on to the business at hand. Dr. Barb Glenn, thank you so much. I am going to turn the floor over to you and give you an opportunity to share some comments and provide a report.
Thank you very much, President Goring. Good afternoon, everyone. The most important strategy we as NASDA must continue is to strengthen our NASDA leadership network and our united nonpartisan voice. And this is the way we're going to continue to grow our impact and influence for agriculture in the future. Today, I'm really so in awe and so grateful to be part of an organization of public servants. I know that each one of you works diligently for your state's food supply chain and all of your food and ag heroes, and I thank you for that. I'm also fully aware of the budget challenges that we are going to face together. But even in these uncertain times, I choose to believe that the future outlook is very positive for state departments of agriculture. I'm pleased to report to you today that the state of NASDA continues to be strong and has weathered the pandemic. We're strong financially, we're strong strategically, including policy partners, cooperative agreements, and our operations. And we look ahead to implementing the new strategic plan and building out policy around our call to action. So with respect to policy, I wanted to make a couple comments. I'm very hopeful that today we will approve the new policy on diversity, inclusion, and racial equity. I believe it provides a foundation for our NASDA commitment made earlier this year for justice for all, in which we said that we would, and I quote, find ways to advance and sustain a culture free from prejudice and inequity. And as Commissioner Bronig said, and I want to quote her as well, she said, agriculture needs everyone at the table. So thank you for the thought you've put into this, and I look forward to that vote. We've also this week revitalized our call to action for resiliency for rural America. And we did so to enhance alignment between our policy activities and the COVID-19 recovery needs. NASDA is going to use that refreshed call to action to contribute to the food and ag policy debates, which are raging right now during the presidential election cycle and beyond as well. And this will require continued close cooperation with our federal partners, and that's going to be critical now more than ever with respect to COVID-19 recovery. The pandemic highlighted some new policy areas that are in serious need of attention, and we're following your lead and your advice and counsel. So that includes worker protection, rural broadband issues, and food supply chain resiliency. So the unmet need of agriculture is still daunting. And again, I look forward to the approval of the added signature action items today that are around meat processing, more on broadband and rural economic programs. So all of these things, this resilience for rural America compounds and invigorates our top tier priorities, and we'll continue to work on those, of course. So that's trade, FSMA implementation, hemp, and other activities on workforce development. I want you to know that we're opening new doors with respect to our federal cooperative agreements with NASDA, FAS, and the FDA. And I'm really pleased with the progress I've seen there. And I also want to share with you, I hope you're excited about the upcoming Tri-National Agricultural Accord, which NASDA is hosting virtually. So this will be an amazing partnership time. It is October 20 to 22, so stay tuned for hearing more information about that. But the bottom line across what we do at NASDA is that partnerships are essential for us. So I have two things to request for you. Now more than ever, please reach out to us, to the NASDA staff, and share your perspectives and insights on these policy issues and things that may be keeping you up at night in your own state. That really helps educate and inform us. And secondly, I urge you to provide us with connections to the key ag staff for your members of Congress. There's going to be a lot of transition going on, so if you take time to do an e-introduction for us, it's worth its weight in gold. Last but certainly not least, I do want to thank the NASDA staff for their amazing work this week to hold what I think has been a successful event and a historic virtual event. I'm really proud of their work this week. Internally, we're going to continue to work integratively and as a team to accomplish the mission. So in closing, I want to express appreciation to the NASDA Board of Directors and to all of you as members. NASDA is your professional home. And as your engagement grows, that's how NASDA grows. So we really appreciate your tenacity and your passion about NASDA. Thank you to President Goring. Really appreciate your resolute leadership, the ability to navigate change, which was essential, and for the pride that you have in NASDA and North Dakota. I think that really came forward this week in our journey to North Dakota. The only thing constant is change, but your NASDA is resilient and we thrive on change. We're excited and we look forward to serving you in the future. So with that, thank you very much, President Goring.
Thank you, Barb. Very much appreciate it. Moving on to policy committee reports and action items. This will be the time when there will be a vote taken, and you will need to unmute at that time. And we will hopefully not have very many dissenting votes. Otherwise, it's going to be a little bit challenging, but I think we'll get her done. So with that, we'll move on to the business at hand. And I'll ask for our respective chairs to come forward and present the action items. First, we're going to go to Commissioner Bronow. Please.
All righty. Good afternoon, everyone. And I am very excited to bring forward the policy amendments and the action items of the Rural Development and Financial Security Committee. And I'm most proud and honored to bring to the entire body the first policy amendment, and that is the Amendment for Diversity, Inclusion, and Racial Equity. I believe that NASDA has an opportunity to make history here with this very, very important policy amendment. I first applaud those who submitted the amendment that include the NASDA Executive Committee, members of WASDA that include Secretary Ross from California, Director Taylor from Oregon, Commissioner Kate Greenberg from Colorado, and Secretary Redding from Pennsylvania, and appreciate President Goring, your support, and Dr. Glenn for your support as well. So this includes the text that adds the 7th guiding principle here with NASDA, And as you can see, begins with the guiding principles that are already forward, but includes the new language on diversity and inclusion, with the statement that NASDA believes that diversity and inclusion are fundamental principles of a sustainable agricultural community and necessary to advance the agricultural industry in the United States. It also includes an additional 16.17 that includes some specific statements related to diversity, inclusion, and racial equity, and what NASDA believes and will support. Again, NASDA has an opportunity to make history with this policy amendment and to help many people who have not been heard and not been supported, but we have an opportunity to speak out loud and how we will do so. So, President Goring, do I request a motion, or is that your job?
You can actually move it, Commissioner Brownell, and I will then seek a second. Do you wish to move it?
Yes, I wish to move that. Yes, I wish to move it, and let's please have a second.
This is
Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Freed from Florida, second.
Thank you.
We have a second.
It has been moved and properly seconded. All in favor, vote by saying aye.
Just
Aye.
Opposed?
I I appreciate you very much, Commissioner, but you are wonderful. I just as a point of order, I need to request discussion.
Oh
And
yeah, I got too excited.
yeah, you are wonderful, and I very much appreciate that. Then I'll call for the question after that, but I just love your exuberance. How great. Thank you for presenting that, by the way. So with that, is there any discussion before we take the vote? I will give you approximately 30 more seconds to see if anybody can get unmuted or raise your hand. There, I believe there is something there that different platforms have different ways of doing it. If nothing else, make your presence known, wave. Amanda will be able to catch my attention if nothing else. I do not see any discussion. So hearing none, please unmute. All of those in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed, say no. Are there any abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you very much. Commissioner, do you have any other action items to come before the body?
Yes, I do. I have an action item for its rural development, and it is regarding rural broadband projects. So this was submitted by Secretary Fisher from New Jersey. It's our action item that NASDA supports the expansion of entities eligible to facilitate the creation of rural broadband projects to include rural electric cooperatives, as these utilities have existing infrastructure and services necessary to support delivery of reliable broadband services to individual residential customers. And as you know, broadband has been a significant issue that we have been faced with and challenged by. So this action item B comes forward, and I request a motion to accept the policy amendment.
So Commissioner Brownell, are you moving it?
Yes, I move that we make a motion to accept the policy amendment.
Okay, is there a second?
Second, Ryan Quarles, Kentucky.
We have a second. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Silence can be awkward, so I choose not to necessarily fill it up with me talking. But I don't want to stifle or ignore any comments. Hearing none, please all unmute signify by saying aye if you approve.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Are there any abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes. Moving on, Commissioner Brownell, do you have any other action items?
I have one more action item, and it is item 5 regarding the federal economic development programs. And we actually had an amendment and slight revisions in our committee, and you will note the changes in the text are before you. That NASDA supports extending federal economic development program eligibility for rural development to include rural to urban agricultural development projects that connect producers in rural areas with processors, providing a stronger connection between the success of both area types. And I move that we accept the policy amendment.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Ball,
Commissioner
second.
Clayton, Florida.
We have a second. Thank you both. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion, comments? Hearing none, I would ask that you all unmute. And if you so approve, say aye.
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 Opposed, say no. Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes. Commissioner Brownell, do you have anything else?
I do not. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You've been wonderful. You did a great job chairing. Just so much appreciate you and your excitement, enthusiasm. Appreciate it so very much. We'll move on now to Animal Agriculture and Secretary Arthur, who is the chair of that committee. Secretary Arthur, are you with us?
This is Vice Chair Charlie Hatcher. Secretary Arthur is on a plane with her governor right now, so I'm going to fill in.
Thank you. Go ahead, Charlie. Appreciate it.
Can we put the slide up? Is there one? There you go. That's not
We got to get to the right one, Secretary Thatcher.
Which item are we looking for? Action item.
It's one on meat processing.
Action item A.
Thanks.
So this is policy action item A, and this came out of the Animal Agriculture Committee. The subject is support significant U.S. investment to increase meat processing capacity. It was submitted by the WASDA directors. There was some discussion about this, mainly a little bit of wordsmithing, and the text reads as NASDA supports significant congressional funding and economic incentives to increase U.S. meat and poultry processing capacity and competition. So I would move in support of this action item coming out of Ag.
Thank you, Commissioner Hatcher. Is there a second?
Second. This is Doug Miyamoto in Wyoming. I would second that.
Thank you. Is there any discussion, questions?
Jasper from New Hampshire. Just have a little bit of discussion. While I support this, I want to make sure it's really broad enough. Our issues in New Hampshire have less to do with the capacity than they do with the actual number of people who are qualified to be meat cutters. We don't have enough people actually in the industry, and I think that that's a large part of it. We can build a lot of facilities, but if we don't have people to staff them, then we're in trouble. The other issue is the way that USDA goes about staffing the facilities themselves. People can't add a couple of hours here and there. They have to go to full additional shifts, which isn't always practical. And I think there needs to be more flexibility in how we allow our processing plants to operate.
Thank you, Commissioner Jasper. Any other questions, comments, discussion? Any other questions, comments, or discussion? Hearing none, please unmute. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes. Commissioner Hatcher, do you have any other action items to come before this board, this committee?
I do not.
I want to thank you for serving as Vice President. You've done a wonderful job this year. And I know that Secretary Arthur has just carried the load and has been great. And I appreciate you both and all that you've done. With that, we'll move on to food systems and nutrition. Secretary Ross, I understand you have an action item to come before this body. Are you with us, Secretary Ross?
Mr. President, this is Josh Eddy from California. I'll defer to the Vice Chair, Commissioner LeBeau from Massachusetts, if he wants to present the action item.
Yes, of course. Commissioner LeBeau.
Well, thank you very much. I'm glad to be an unexpected pleasure. Policy item D was submitted by NASDA to the committee relative to specialty crops, establishing a new way of referencing how they are named to give a better understanding. Specialty crop is a tough term for many to understand exactly what it means. Text of the action item is that NASDA supports engaging the Hill to educate Congress on the expansive impacts of specialty crops. NASDA supports engaging federal policymakers on increased flexibility for specialty crop block grants used by the states. And NASDA supports increasing specialty crop funding in the next Farm Bill. And I want to recognize and thank Secretary Doug Fisher for bringing this to the NASDA board.
Thank you, Commissioner LeBeau. Are you moving this action item?
Like Commissioner Brona, I'm so excited. I move policy action item D.
Is there a second? Is there a second?
Second from New York.
We had a second, a couple of them. Any discussion, comments, questions?
I just want to say I'm here. I was struggling to get on. Sorry, but the commissioner did a fabulous job. So embarrassed.
Thank you, Secretary Ross. Is there any more discussion, questions, or comments? Hearing none, last opportunity. All in favor, unmute and say aye.
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 All opposed, say no. Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you, Secretary Ross and Commissioner LeBeau. You guys did a great job this year. I so appreciate all your hard work and efforts. And I did get a chance to join your committee at the very end there. Caught some of the discussion. It was good. So fantastic. With that, is there any other action items that I may have missed that need to come before the body? I just want to check with Max or with Zach.
That's it, sir.
We caught them all? All right, that's good. Thank you. We're going to move on now at this time to the Audit and Finance Committee report. So I will turn it over to Director Miyamoto to provide the Audit and Finance Committee report. Director Doug, there you are.
Thank you, President Goring. Appreciate that. First of all, I think I have to thank Martha Dale. I also have to thank the Audit and Finance Committee, who was very involved and helpful throughout a very challenging year. And that is Secretary Mike Nigg, Secretary Karen Ross, Secretary Anson Tibbetts, and Secretary Wes Ward. We didn't have any trouble getting action and participation throughout the last year. And I think I can proudly report that the fiscal year 20 financial results were not as bad as we might have feared that they would be, I guess would be a safe way to put that. We were able to end the year on budget thanks to positive market returns of $120,000. So that's very good news. We ended the year with $3.4 million in net assets, half of that, 1.7 million, being in our reserve accounts. And so I think I also have to thank leadership of Barb and past board members for having the foresight to establish that goal for NASDA and making the organization as solvent as it is today. NASDA remains focused on maintaining financial sustainability and growing revenue in the future. And I think we are on a positive trend in that regard. And so I'm sure that there will be challenges as we come out of this strange pandemic that might be challenging, but I think it's good that we can report that as of right now, we're on solid financial footing. I'm not sure how many like organizations could say that right now. So, you know, I can report that I feel very confident that we're doing the best that we can given the hand that we've been dealt. Second of interest would be financial impacts of this COVID-19 pandemic. Related to that, I have to report on our cooperative agreements because they're key. Reduced spending in our FSMA agreement did reduce our indirect revenue, as would be expected, but we did have limited financial impact with our NASDA agreement. As you heard from Hubert earlier this week, the enumerators have stopped all in-person interviews, but that work has been done remotely for quite some time now, but limited financial impact with our NASDA agreement, which is obviously critical for this organization. And then I also have to report some thanks from FAS and the flexibility that they've afforded to NASDA throughout the past year, that our financial impact from our FAS agreement's been limited. And that is in despite of having 2 canceled trade shows. Increased management fees for FAS activities have also covered shortfalls in other areas. And so I think that's good news. Mr. President, in terms of dues, we've received already 60% of our dues for fiscal year 21 from 29 states. And so for those of you out there, take a look at that. We do have some concerns that fiscal year 22 may be a little bit difficult, recognizing the revenue shortfalls that most states are experiencing this year. In terms of investments, as of the end of August, our investments were up $125,000 from June. And so that's good news, but also may point to some volatility around the corner. I have to thank you, Mr. President, for the effort and all of the support that you were able to garner with respect to the annual meeting. We have to send out a big thank you to all of our partners that have been with us for so long, and they're all familiar to us now. But then also to the local sponsors that you were able to get. They stood in with you, and I think that's a testament to the relationship that you enjoy in North Dakota. And I enjoyed being in North Dakota virtually. I am going to come up there at some point. we expect that the financial impact of this virtual meeting will be better than what we had budgeted. And so with that, Mr. President, I would move approval of the Audit and Finance Committee report. And then I would also ask, respective, to your permission, if there is anything that either Martha or Barb would like to add to this report. I think that might be valuable as well.
Thank you.
California will second.
Then we have a second. Martha or Barb, any other thoughts you wanted to add? Any information you felt would be relevant to the discussion and to the report?
Nothing now. We will continue to keep you updated, especially from the dues standpoint. We will be in close touch with you for lots of reasons about your budgets, but know that that is top of mind, and we want to work with you to make sure that we're not putting undue pressure on you, but also that we're able to deliver the member services that are of the standard that you expect from NASDA. Thank you.
Thanks, Martha.
Yeah, very well said from Martha. So thank you all very much. And thanks, Director Miyamoto, for chairing this great committee. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Doug. You've done a wonderful job. Appreciate all the hard work of your committee and yourself this last year. Like we said, it's a little unconventional. We generally meet, go over things. It's a little challenging, but great job. Any discussion, questions? Any discussion, questions, comments? Hearing none. Please unmute. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, say no. Any abstentions? Hearing none. Motion passes. Thank you very much. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Secretary Jeff Whitty out of New Mexico, who chaired the nominating committee. Jeff, please.
All right, thank you, Mr. President, and my heartfelt thanks to you as well for a great year this past year. I think you've done a great job and held a wonderful virtual meeting, and we've certainly enjoyed the little taste of North Dakota, and we hope to visit there someday and see it in person. So thank you. It's been wonderful. I had a wonderful, the last duty as the past president is to serve as the chair of the nominating committee. And with me, I had Director Chris Chin from Missouri, Commissioner Charlie Hatcher from Tennessee, and Commissioner Brian Holbert from Connecticut. And I want to thank each of the committee members for their great work as part of this committee. Doug, this is about the time you look forward to hearing that you will soon be nominated as the past president. Commissioner Quarles, this is the time when it gets real for you, sir. So I'll proceed with the nominating committee report. The nominating committee places a nomination for president, Commissioner Ryan Quarles from Kentucky. Vice President, Commissioner Richard Ball from New York. Second Vice President, Director Doug Miyamoto from Wyoming. Secretary Treasurer, Director Bruce Kettler from Indiana. The past president would be Commissioner Doug Goring from North Dakota. The at-large member will be Director Celia Gold from Idaho. The NASDA rep would be Secretary Russell Redding from Pennsylvania. The SASDA rep would be Secretary Wes Ward from Arkansas. The MASDA rep would be Director Steve Wellman from Nebraska. The WASDA rep would be Director Alexis Taylor from Oregon. Those are that's the report of the nominating committee, and I would open the floor for any further nominations if there are any. Going once, going twice. With no further nominations, Mr. President, I would move that the slate of officers and directors for the NASDA leadership team be accepted by acclamation.
Is there a second?
Yes,
Second.
Vermont.
Sounds like we have quite a few seconds. Thank you. Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, unmute and say yes.
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 Yes. Yeah.
All opposed, say no. Any abstentions? Hearing none. Motion carried. You
My
now
congratulations to the new team, and thank you once again to our past president, soon to be Doug Goring. Thank you.
thank you, Secretary Whitty, for your work on this committee, for your committee. Wonderful job. I know there's a little bit of work when you can't all get together and meet with people and talk about issues, but
Sure, I might have something in the refrigerator.
Commissioner Strain went on, oh, there, he's back on mute. That thing must have a mind of its own. Thank you. At this point in time, we'll move to any new business. Is there any new business to come before the body? Any new business? One more time. Any new business before we move on to my final act and close to the end of our meeting? I'll turn it over to Commissioner Quarles at that time. Hearing no new business, we're going to move on to our closing ceremony. I do want to take this opportunity before I figuratively and virtually pass the gavel to Commissioner Quarles, who is so very competent and awaiting his new opportunities. I do want to say a few things. First of all, thank you to Barb. I very much appreciate the relationship we've built and developed over time. I want to thank the executive committee. You've all were friends before and you became dear friends during that period of time, as well as the board. I know we didn't get a chance to spend much time together, but I've been blessed with having you as a board and the opportunity to discuss many good things that happened this last year. I also want to thank my staff. My staff here in North Dakota have done a great job. I so much appreciate them and the work that they've done during this period of time, and then switching gears and pivoting to a virtual type of setting and venue. I also want to thank our NASDA staff. They have done a great job over this past several months. I mean, we had to move into meetings in some cases 2 and 3 times a week. In fact, we did that for about 3.5, 4 months almost. And they did a great job kicking that off, making sure that technology was up to par, and it went off a lot of times without a hitch. I also want to thank our sponsors. I've said it before, try to say it every day and every time we're with you. Without you, we couldn't have done this. We couldn't do any of our work, quite frankly. We would have limited budgets and limited resources, and although we appreciate everybody's company, it gets a little challenging, and just to fly and be together and put that time in and away from our jobs is challenging enough, but you certainly have helped us to do our job better. This past year has had many challenges. I mean, we started off with COVID. When we got into the new year, we've had multiple storms of historic level, including even some historic fires in parts of our nation. And we certainly hope and pray for all those that are dealing with all of the mess and the catastrophe. And also, a missed opportunity to host all of you in North Dakota. I think it goes to say that, yeah, these are unconventional times and they require an unconventional approach. And we had to provide things in a different platform. And I hope that we were successful in doing so. I believe so. But there were some wonderful things that happened this last year for agriculture, for all of us. Some are minor, some are major. It depends on who you are and how you were impacted. But we had some trade agreements that were signed and accomplished. Japan, China, USMCA, one of our largest trade agreements with our neighbors to the north and the south. You've been, as members, wonderful to work with. Tenacious, innovative, steadfast. Together, you truly are not recognized, but you are one of the greatest resources this country has, and that they need to tap into. Your intimate knowledge of the complexities and yet the simplicities of our industry are tremendous. I so value all of you because when we get together, we learn so much, we share, we network, and we build off from that. I'm honored to have served as your president. My hope was that I created and we created the right venue to share, discuss, and develop solutions and opportunities for others. I've been resolute in my service to this organization. I never figured it was my platform to impose my will, but instead to bring calm where there's turbulence and turmoil, and peace where there's unrest, and consistency without unwavering commitment to all of you. I thank you for that. Lastly, one person that I haven't had an opportunity to talk about. I couldn't do this without her love and support, is my wife, Annette. She couldn't join us today online. She had a doctor's appointment. And although I have to apologize because I have a lot of friends out there and I didn't get a chance to ever contact you about this, something that's been plaguing her for a couple of years. She had an opportunity finally to see the right doctor, and about 5 weeks ago or so, she was diagnosed with cancer. Now there's a good story with this. We immediately got her into a hospital ways away, a specialist, and they did surgery. And just a couple of weeks ago, we got the pathology report back, and her prognosis is good. They got it all, they believe, and she'll just have to be monitored for the next several years. But I do want to thank you for all of those that were in the know, and I want to thank you for your prayers and support. You've been wonderful, and I so much appreciate that. So I leave you with gratitude. I'm so grateful to have served and represent you, and I hope I'm considered your friend, because I consider so many of you to be mine. Thank you, and with that, I am passing the gavel to my good friend, Commissioner Quarles.
Oh, there we go.
Well, thank you for that. And let me be the first to say congratulations, Commissioner Goring, on a job well done. You know, you chose the theme energizing ads, and who would have thought how much energy you would have to have in your 2020, a year where the word normal has nothing to do towards characterizing this year. I too want to commend you on a job well done. And I know there's many on the call today who just learned the news and now the great news about your wife. And for the whole NASDA community, we'll continue to keep you and your spouse in our prayers, and we're thankful for the good news. This has been a really tough year for many folks, but for you in particular, you have excelled. You've helped build a relationship like none other with USDA, the FDA, and EPA during the coronavirus. On behalf of the members may not know this, you had many trips to Washington, D.C., both in person and virtually, that a lot of folks aren't aware of, to help make sure that NASDA had a hand in important policy directives earlier this year, truly under unprecedented times. You're also there with Farm Bill implementation. Let us not forget that we had a lot of work and continue to have a lot of work with the 18 Farm Bill implementation. And oh, by the way, there are 3 trade deals that went into effect this year that you played a part in: Japan, Phase 1 China, and of course, USMCA. We had a little luck with your wheat producers up there, Doug, so congratulations on that. And on behalf of NASDA and the incoming slate of officers, I would like to present you a token of our appreciation for your leadership and a gift. You should have received it by now via mail. Believe me, I and the others would have loved to have had a few days in North Dakota, so congratulations. And for those who may want to unmute, feel free to give Doug a round of applause. So thank you for what.
Yay.
Doug.
Yay.
Go Doug.
Well done. Well done.
Well done, Doug.
Thank
Great
you, Doug.
job. Thank you, and don't forget, I did get the COA paddle in the mail today with Kentucky inscribed on it. So thank you so much. That tradition continues. I also want to say congratulations to new slate of officers. And Doug, I know you're going to be very involved as past president. And Willie, I think, is already trying to leave the meeting already because his responsibilities have concluded. I also want to take time to say thank you to our partners who have made our annual and winter policy meetings, as well as our regionals, a success. Thank you so much. We look forward to continue to build those relationships with you in the years to come. And we're very responsive towards that. And finally, a big thank you to Dr. Barbara Glenn and all the NASDA staff, wonderful staff. Under her leadership, NASDA has improved our financial stability, established a framework for governance, grown in-house staff expertise, and gained significant traction on policy issues, both at the federal, but also state levels as well. So congratulations to Barb, well done. Look forward to working with you. And she is a University of Kentucky graduate, so go Cats. On a personal note, the first ag commissioner I met as a young Kentucky farm kid was a guy named Billy Ray Smith when I was in middle school. And he's the last person to serve as NASDA president of Kentucky 2 decades ago. And I saw him at the Kentucky State Fair last year passing out awards. And I just want to say thank you to all those who served before us as an officer team. You all really have laid the groundwork and made NASDA such an incredible organization today. So thank you for your tenure, those who have helped grow the organization before us. So thank you. You know, American agriculture is being redefined. It's going to be redefined in 2020, whether we like it or not. A lot of limelight is spread upon our industry, mostly positive, but it also exposed some weaknesses in our industry over the past year. And I think the word redefine will continue to be a topic of conversation for the upcoming year as well. And that's why there's no better time than now to unleash our strategic plan. Many of you serve on the working group. All of you had the opportunity to be involved, and the new strategic plan really is a grassroots document that will guide NASDA into the years to come. And so thank you, Commissioner Warren, for letting me chair that strategic plan. And with that being said, this strategic plan is NASDA's, it's yours, And it's a work product that represents the best of our ability, the inclusiveness, nonpartisanship that NASDA must continue to have. But that gives us direction for the years to come. So at this time, I'd like to ask Amanda to play a short video about our strategic plan. I understand that sometimes we have little technical glitches, but Amanda, take it away.
Throughout the globe, American agriculture is feeding, fueling, and nourishing people and communities. We're constantly adapting to do more with less, but there's still more work to do. So how will we address the new challenges and opportunities before us? As always, we'll do it together under a new and revitalized mission for the National Association of State Departments of Agriculture. Under this mission, we aim to grow and enhance American agriculture through policy, partnerships, and public engagement. And we have our eyes set on 4 priorities. First, representing agriculture on Capitol Hill. This means serving as the nonpartisan voice, positively shaping policies affecting American agriculture and food. Second, we will grow partnerships with NGOs, philanthropic entities, the private sector, and government, all designed to support policy priorities and fulfill our purpose and mission. Third, we will tell the story of American agriculture and the hardworking people behind it through strategic public engagement. Lastly, we will work to better engage our members by sharing information and building consensus on important issues. Through NASDA's policy, partnerships, and public engagement, agriculture will lead the way toward a healthy and resilient world. Learn more at NASDA.org.
Thank you so much. I think it's a wonderful video. You can find that on our NASDA page. So any visitor that may be familiar or not familiar with NASDA will be able to see that and have a really good indicator about what our organization is about and where we're going. And great job on narrating, Dr. Barb Glenn. Thank you so much. Ken Burns should hire you. One of the things that you're seeing is, again, a reference of redefining our industry. And in a few moments, I'm going to unleash a video that officially welcomes you to Kentucky and introduces our theme for the next year, which is redefining agriculture. Over the next year, we have a few policy priorities. We have a lot of work to be done on international trade, not only with new deals, but also with implementing trade deals that were implemented earlier this year. It's so important we stay on top of this and work with our partners and make sure that the technical aspects are being addressed, and so the American farmer can benefit the most broadly from all these trade agreements. We also want to have a conversation about rural broadband. I think this is an issue that's very timely given the circumstances and something that a lot of our states have already taken a stab at, but perhaps it's time to have one on the national level and get down on the weeds on it and have a direction about where we want to go. We're also looking forward to growing new partnerships. As many of you all know, NASDA took some bold steps earlier this year with having formal agreements with Manners, the Farmer Veteran Coalition, and more. We're going to be active on Capitol Hill and navigating the labyrinth of federal agencies, especially for our members who do not have nor can afford federal liaisons. We want to make sure we stay very active, whether it be virtually or in person on the Hill. And the last main theme that I'd like to address is the concept of food insecurity. Many of you all are very, very active, especially this year, as the need for Americans to combat food insecurity. We have seen stories every week about a 30, sometimes 40% increase in number of Americans utilizing food banks, many of whom go there for the very first time in their lives due to the devastating effects of the global pandemic. I think that there's some things that we can do. And in the coming weeks, we're going to be rolling out somewhat of a toolbox, a toolkit of things that you can do. Perhaps some of you are already doing these to face food insecurity in your own states. I think this is a great partnership where we can address farmers who may have crops that are not marketable, have crops that would otherwise rot in the field, get those to a food bank, and not only help out an American farmer, but also help out those less fortunate and introduce them to locally produced food as well, especially during unprecedented times. All of this work will be done in the background of a presidential campaign, a presidential transition, regardless of who wins, as well as the outcome of House and Senate races on the federal level. It's important that NASDA play a transition role regardless of the outcome this fall. And that's something that I'm going to ask many of you to play a part in over the next few weeks and months. I, on a personal level, for a kid that grew up on a tobacco farm in the hills of Kentucky, this is an amazing honor. I hope to serve in a way that will make you proud and live up to the expectations of those who come before me have left. So I have big boots to fill, so to say. And I hope that we can be together in person in the coming year as well. So I'd like to conclude my remarks with a video inviting you to Louisville, Kentucky, the home of the Kentucky Derby, Louisville Slugger baseball bat. And we'd like to have an in-person meeting. We'll cross our fingers, see what happens next year. And I'd like to officially announce the theme for 2020-2021 as Redefining Agriculture. Amanda, please play the video.
Hi, this is Kentucky Commissioner of Agriculture Ryan Quarles, your new NASDA president. What do you think of when you think of Kentucky? Fast horses? Perhaps bourbon? Maybe it's tobacco. And yes, Colonel Sanders and Kentucky Fried Chicken. All of these products start on the family farm. They are recognized around the world as being uniquely Kentucky. Kentucky has a strong farm tradition that is defined by the word innovation. We've been on the forefront of conservation practices like no-till corn planting, which was invented here in the Commonwealth, and on the front lines of introducing new and alternative crops. And yes, if there's one thing that we know about 2020, is that we are all going to have to double down on that tradition of innovation. We're going to need to talk about how agriculture will be redefined going forward, whether we like it or not. For instance, how has the coronavirus redefined our industry? How will trade disputes redefine the global marketplace? And what new technologies will redefine the way farm families grow and market their products? These questions and others deserve answers. That's why I would like to cordially invite you to NASDA's 2021's annual meeting, Redefining Agriculture. I hope you'll join us in person in Louisville, Kentucky next year to discuss pressing agricultural issues, public policy proposals, and NASDA's role in rising to meet the challenges facing our farm families in these unprecedented times. We'll do all of this in Kentucky's biggest foodie city, Louisville, home of the Louisville Slugger, which is steeped in our signature bourbon industry and where the racehorses run for the roses, typically every May. American agriculture is being redefined, and the National Association of State Departments of Agriculture should be the lead voice in redefining it. I look forward to hosting you at my old Kentucky home next year to start this conversation.
Well, there you go. We hope to have an in-person conference, fingers crossed, next September 19th to the 22nd, my home Kentucky home in Louisville, Kentucky. Commissioner Goring, congrats on a job well done. Great job hosting a virtual conference. And at this time, we would like to invite members only, member staff, as well as NASDA staff to stay on the call for a very brief and short members only meeting. So if you're not a NASDA member or a staff proxy